Welcome to this week, and let me tell you what a week it has been. So, this is our show just before Halloween tomorrow when all of those little trick or treaters go out there and cause a lot of havoc in the neighborhood. So, as a result, tonight we are going to, or this afternoon, we got a little bit of pumpkin trivia we're going to throw in every so often, and it's not going to just be the news. So, a lot of fun stuff going on. How are you guys doing? That's what I want to know. Are you all ready for the little trick or treaters tomorrow night? What do you got planned? Are you one of these people that do you like to hand out the candy, or do you just leave a big bowl of candy on your front porch and let people decide to take what they can, use the honor system per se? So it'll be interesting to hear tonight what you guys do for Halloween. Hopefully this isn't I'm using the new camera setup. So I've got this all set up. So I have to be careful not to touch the desk because otherwise the camera starts shaking. And, then you'll be like, oh, is there an earthquake in Ottawa? No, it's just the camera. All right. So we're going to start with, of course, the big story of the week was the rate hikes. So, of course, the interesting thing on our rate hike is we were expecting a 75 basis point rate hike on Wednesday, but good old Tiff came in and gave us a break and only gave us a 50 basis point rate hike. So, yeah, we're still looking at the main rate going up to 3.25. And one of the bad things is, I don't think people realize when the rate goes up 25%, we think, oh, well, it's just, when it goes up 50%, we think, oh, it's just a little 50%. But by the time that translates to credit cards, loans, mortgages, the banks tack on extra. So you do end up paying quite a bit more than just a 50 basis point. So keep in mind that does happen. And that's kind of the sad thing. And that's, I think, one of the things that a lot of people are starting to feel the brunt of. If you are somebody who has a variable mortgage right now, you are really feeling the brunt as your mortgage is going up pretty much every month. Your mortgage is going up again and again and again. If you, of course, have a fixed mortgage rate and you've got it locked in, that's fantastic for now. But where are we going to be when your mortgage comes due and you have to either continue on fixed or, look at a variable rate? There's a lot of decisions, I think, ahead. And so it'll be kind of good. All right. So we got a few people in the house already. We got Jordan in the house. Hello, Jordan. It is always good to see you. Hockey Nut is in the house. Hello, Hockey Nut. Hopefully your team won last night because, Saturday night in Canada is that big hockey night. And, of course, Bleak is in the house as well. Hello, Bleak. Good to see you. All right. So, and you know what? Before we even jump on to our next news story, let's actually jump to one of our pumpkin facts.
The adverb actually is usually defined as an actual or existing fact. Really.
Thank you. I don't know if you guys heard that, but Alexa decided to join the stream. Hello, Alexa. Okay. First pumpkin. So we got 10 of these, and we're going to just sort of peter them out through the stream. So any of you guys who just like cut in and, you watch like maybe 20, 30 minutes, you're going to kind of want to watch the whole stream today because, you don't want to miss a pumpkin fact. So our first pumpkin fact is, well, there's a misidentification of pumpkins. We all think they're vegetables. Well, apparently they're actually fruit. Who knew? So pumpkins, along with cucumbers, tomatoes, and avocados, they come from the flowers of their plant, and that technically makes them a fruit. So there you go. We carve the pumpkin fruit every year. So that's kind of a neat little thing. I did not know that. And I will give some credit, of course, to Jill. Jill researched all of the pumpkin facts for me today because I was like, I'll research the news. You research the pumpkin facts for me. And she happily obliged. So I think she's come up with some good ones. That's going to be awesome. All right. We also have in the house da friggin' Oracle. And sup, Oracle, says the Bleak Master. So anyway, we'll continue. So that was our first pumpkin fact. We got 10 of them, 9 more to come. Just give me a second here. We want to talk a little bit about the US dollar. So the US dollar has been surging, and this is kind of a big thing for a lot of different reasons. For one, the US surge in the US dollar is pushing other currencies down. So if you look at some of the issues with the UK, or even our Canadian dollar is feeling the impact of this American dollar getting higher and higher. Anybody who buys American products is feeling it. But here's this interesting thing. There is an issue that's been happening where a lot of countries who have a lot of US dollars are starting to sell them off because they're using that money to help their own economies, to help prop up their own dollar. Even the US treasuries, they're starting to sell off some of their US government bonds just because the money is so good and they're being able to use that for other, other parts of the economy. But long term, this could hurt the US, especially if we get to a point where countries sell off enough US dollars that they could actually lose their dependence on the US dollar. So that could be very interesting. And that's I think going to be something to watch. Also keep in mind that as we continue to pump this US dollar, it's making it look like oil is cheaper. It's making it look like Bitcoin is cheaper. For example, just two different commodities. And it's not exactly true. Because what will happen is once the American dollar eventually comes back down to earth, as these type of pumps usually always do, we're all of a sudden going to see the price of oil go crazy. So that's kind of one of those interesting things. So keep in mind, when the US dollar starts to fall, you're going to see oil rise. You're going to see, anything priced in US dollars. So oil, Bitcoin, it's going to be, and this is perfect. Exactly what the freaking Oracle said. Yes, the next year is going to be interesting in the financial sector. No doubts about it. No doubts at all. So we're in for a very interesting year, I think. All right. So that's a little bit on the US dollars. The other big news this week, was Twitter. It has finally happened. King Elon is now sitting on top of the Twit post. Now, he moved in and he fired their CEO. He fired their CFO, so Chief Financial Officer. He also fired their main policy guy because, Elon's not very happy with the policies over at Twitter. So those guys all gone. CEO is now Elon. Elon has now appointed himself top dog. He also took Twitter off of the exchanges. So Twitter has gone private. So here's the thing. If you were one of these people who was thinking that the deal was going to actually happen and you went and bought a lot of cheap Twitter stocks, you are laughing right now because he is paying it all back. He is buying back all those stocks at the agreed price. So you made a absolute killing. And we got Vic in the house. Vic says fires the CEO, gets 40 million. We got Mr. Danter in the house. And Trump is now freed on Twitter. Yes. One of the things that Elon has gotten rid of is permanent bans. So perma bans are gone. He's also looking at making Twitter more of where it sort of tracks what you're interested in and shows you more of what you want to see, opposed to some of the garbage that happens now. So there's going to be a lot of changes with Twitter, and it'll be interesting to see how he develops it. So I think that's going to be really, really funny. Crypto-friendly guy in the UK, the new PM. So yeah, they've got a new PM over in Britain. It's almost like musical chairs, right? They play the music and then you sit down in your PM for a minute and then they play the music again. But we'll see if this guy can last. And we'll see if maybe this guy can get things off and going. And crypto-friendly is not a bad thing either. Dave D says, hi, everyone. And Vic says, my stock's suspended, but bank tells me we'll get Twitter monies as cash when the things settle. Yeah, it's going to take a while, but so Vic was smart. Vic had some Twitter. I was not smart. I was thinking, I was like, I don't know if this is going to happen. So I did not buy any of the Twitter, and I kind of wish I had. Freaking Oracle says, cleaning up Twitter to match Google Analytics. Yeah, absolutely. So that's kind of one of those things, trying to clean up. Now, here's the interesting thing, mentioning Google. this was kind of like the Armageddon of tech week, if you think about it, because a lot of interesting stuff was going on in the US when it comes to quarterly reports. So just a quick little update on what happened. So Amazon missed their estimates, and they are actually projecting their they're projecting their fourth quarter to be one of their slowest in their entire history. So they've got a very dismal look on the holidays this year. So we'll have to see. What are you guys doing? Are any of you guys looking to cut back spending over the holidays, or is it, holiday season as normal? What's going on? Let me know. Let me go hit the comments. Tell me about this stuff. Also, if you haven't hit like yet, just smash that like button. It gets the algorithm all happy and more people can see what's going on. And we got Jeremy in the house. Hello, Jeremy. And Vic says, lucky of Twitter at $38, but nickel dime crew buying only a handful of shares. Well, you know what? Even if you're only getting a little bit of bonus money on a few shares, it's still better than getting what I'm getting, bonus money on no shares. Anything multiplied by 0, of course, is bad luck. And that's what I always say. So that was Amazon. Alphabet also reported. Now, Alphabet, of course, owns YouTube and Google. They're looking at their weakest growth since about 2013. Now, as a result, after they released their quarterly reports, their shares dropped by 9.14%. So that's going to be very interesting. Now, Tim asks, do you think Amazon's prediction of a slower fourth is indicative of spending season overall? I think it is. I think people kind of get the fact that there is a recession coming. I think there's a lot of nervousness amongst everybody because as soon as you hear recession's coming, you start thinking, okay, am I going to have my job next year? And I think that's one of those things that people are thinking about. Do I have a job next year? How bad is it going to get? This is affecting the world. And so I think there's going to be, but you're also going to get, here, let me throw both ends. You will get some people who are like, this is my first Christmas with no lockdowns. I can go and do, and I can party hardy. And some people are going to. But I think a lot of people who kind of have their ear to the news, I think those are going to be your people who are going to probably not spend as much, and they're probably going to be a little bit more conservative when it comes to how they handle their finances over the winter. So this will be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see the retail data when it comes out for the fourth quarter. Now, we won't see that until the new year, but I think that is going to be very interesting. And, oops, I meant to jump onto you, Vic. Shopify going up. Yeah, Shopify stocks have been going up. They've had a pretty good end of this week. Maybe people are starting to maybe online is the way to go. I mean, I know myself, it's very rare that I buy things like go into a retail store to purchase something. I go online for, I would say 95 to 99% of purchases. Heck, even groceries, Jill got up this morning and ordered the groceries and had them delivered today. So it's like, you can pretty much do almost everything online now if you so choose. The only thing I will say is sometimes buying clothes is kind of problematic online because it's hard to get the sizes right. Unless you happen to be that perfect average person who has the exact average shape, size, all of that, then you are probably doing okay. Do I have enough money in my emergency fund? Bet a lot of people are wondering this. Yeah. And Vic's wondering, wait, what emergency fund? Holy banana bread. Definitely you need an emergency fund. Pencil sales are up for the emergency fund. It's one of those things, and people preach things like emergency funds, anybody in the financial sector, but nobody really thinks about them. And a lot of people are like, I don't need an emergency fund. But, you're in that situation now where if you do lose your job, you'll be glad that you have one. So that's going to be interesting. Now, Hockey Nut says staying cheap for Christmas, more cash to deploy to, I'm going to assume he means stocks. Either that or else he's talking about actual hockey sticks. One of the two. Tim says everyone has to sharpen theirs to save money. Phil is in the house. Hello, Phil. Phil, you'll like tomorrow's video. It is America themed. Phil is from Ohio, so very, very interesting. And Tim says hi, Phil. Hi, Tim. Business Insider predicting major liquidity crisis today. Anyone seen that article? I haven't seen that article, but I can certainly believe that you're going to have a lot of liquidity stuff going on. So it'll be very, very interesting. And yes, I think he means stocks and not sticks. Shares of CIBC going up. So right now, yes, we are going to get some stuff going up when it comes to our banks. But it's going to basically be one of these situations where we kind of need some of the initial shakeouts. Like right now, there's a lot of defaulting going on with loans, and that's what's been pulling the banks down. But keep in mind, with rates going up, they're making more on mortgages. They're making more on their loans. They're making more on their credit cards. So that we'll hit a point where this balances out the defaults that are happening. And at that point, these prices will still start to go back up. But for now, you are getting some really good yields on your bank stocks. So I look at this as being kind of a blessing. Like I'm okay with the bank staying low for a while because this is a great opportunity to, to load up on a few, and getting like 6% yields instead of like a 4% that you would normally get. So that to me, I'm totally okay with that. And Jeremy's bringing in the math. Shopify has a PE ratio of 245 or a PE of 245, but a price to book and a price to sales of 5 and 9. So yeah, now Shopify, like I recently did do a deep dive on Shopify. Even this little them going up right now, I am not entirely happy with their numbers. So I'm a little hesitant about Shopify still, but I will definitely watch this, and it'll be interesting to see because keep in mind when I did my deep dive, that was based on, I believe it was it might have been Q2, I think. So depending on how their numbers, maybe their numbers are looking better, but I'm not sold on Shopify yet. So we'll have to see. CIB dividends, October 31st. Yes, I know. I know Bank of Nova Scotia or Scotiabank have their dividends out this week. So a lot of the banks are doing that right now with their quarterly little cycle. We will get a fairly good indicator on the US Black Friday. Yeah, absolutely. We'll have to see. Well, keep in mind too, though, because of all of the deals on Black Friday, even people who are trying to be frugal might be out looking for some deals because it'll be really interesting. And HockeyNet says next Fed report November 2nd. Absolutely. And right now, all expectations are for a 75 basis point hike in the US. So we'll have to see if that's how it goes. Thanks. There we go. BNS and CIBC were down for a bit, but as usual, no cash to buy. Yeah, sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it hurts. Sometimes you can run into a deal, and if you don't have that liquidity, there's not much you can do. All right, before I jump to Jeremy, let's just get another one of these pumpkin facts out of the way. Here is something really interesting. So once a pumpkin sprouts, it can take them between 90 to 120 days to reach maturity. And that makes sense. When I used to test water at a solid waste site, they had a compost area, and all the pumpkins from the previous year were in that compost area. And usually probably around the beginning of summer, there were all these vines and little pumpkins starting to grow already. And, by Halloween, they were all ripe and ready to pick. I got a huge pumpkin out of the compost pile at work at that time. So that was just kind of fantastic. So yeah, pumpkins take a little while to grow. That's a neat one. I kind of knew it, but never really thought about it. All right, Jeremy says, supposed to take a call from CWB, so Canadian Western Bank Investor Relations Supervisor Monday. Why do you think provisions and liquidities are low? Thank you. Well, I think a lot of what's going on, there's a few things going on with Canadian Western Bank. All of the banks are likewise running into situations where they have not, I don't want to say liquidity issues, but they have issues with defaults. Defaults have been pulling things down. Canadian Western Bank is also, they have been expanding into Ontario. So some of their capital is being used up in this area. Now, they do have enough capital to cover everything. So I'm not too concerned. But I would absolutely like to see provisions, liquidities a little bit higher. I think this is a stock I still like. I'm still firmly behind them. But I think it's going to be one of these situations where I'm not going to see a lot of growth, probably until 2023 when things start to settle down when it comes to, as I kind of mentioned, the whole, with the other banks as well, the whole defaults start to hit that equilibrium with the increases they're getting through some of the rate hikes on some of their interest products. I think that's going to help them. But yeah, that is something I actually would like to see their Q3 to see how that looks, because I'm basing most of my information right now on Canadian Western Bank off of Q2 information. So I'll definitely revisit them for sure. Car insurance also going up, especially in Ontario. Yeah. Anything and everything right now is pretty much going up. It's kind of one of those things. And Tim Danter says the price for car insurance is just as corrupt as the gas prices. Holy banana bread. Yes. So many scams, especially with tow trucks. If you really want to begin to make it fair, charge on kilometers driving, time of day, and a telematics device. That would make sense. Yeah, I mean, if you are driving a lot, you should probably pay more insurance than somebody who doesn't drive very much at all. So it's one of those interesting things. And I will be looking at that. Well, next year I will be looking at insurance as I finish up this whole driving experience. Now, update on the driving lessons. This week, my driving instructor was sick. I didn't, they sent me an email I had just closed my email when the email came to let me know. So I still went and stood outside for a bit and found out that he was gone. So what can you do? All right. Didn't Core Scientific go belly up? Another crypt death. I am not sure about that one, or crypto casualty. That one I'm not sure of. Candace, do you have your price out car insurance? I have not yet. Now, I know I'm going to probably be paying a ton as a new driver. Now, the fact that I'm older might help a little bit. The fact that I'm taking a driving course is going to help a little bit too. But the fact that the word new is going to be in there is going to, I'm probably going to pay a good amount for insurance. I have no doubt of that. Most companies give a discount if you work from home. Oh, there we go. I like that because you know what? I work from home. So let's see if that'll get me a discount as well. I will take every discount I can. Because I mean, quite honestly, this is my thoughts. Like once I have my license, I'm not going to be out there driving. I won't even say I'd be driving every day. I'll probably be driving like maybe 2-3 times a week, if that. So it's not going to be a situation where I need to be, it's almost like in a way, I'd almost be like an occasional driver, but I'd still be the primary person in the car. So I don't think you can be, and I could be absolutely 1,000,000,000% wrong on this. Correct me, Tim, if I am, because Tim will know. If a primary driver can get themselves an occasional driver insurance, I don't know. And why do you think railroad securities are so expensive? So CNR, PB. So CNR, PE above 20, PB, PS. I think the big thing with CNR is they really don't do a lot of splits for one. Now I have a fair amount of CN because I'm very bullish on CN. They have been doing really well. They're part of the supply chain, thus they're always going to be recession proof. Now, eventually somebody's going to come along and they're going to be like saying, let's do a price split. And I think CN is definitely ripe for a price split, but or share split. I haven't heard anything about them doing something like that yet. And there are some companies that let their share price get insanely high. Now you can still buy like on Wealthsimple, you can get fractional CN shares. But if you're like me, I mean, I will buy fractional, like leftover, I'll throw it on something, but I really kind of like to own a whole share personally. So, and that's the thing. CN is expensive and their price is going to keep going up. I think eventually they will do a stock split, but when, I have no clue, to be honest. All right, let's see here. Oh, gosh. You guys are talking a lot today. First time I got auto insurance, I paid $138 a month. Now, years later, $97 a month. Nice. I think that's a good price. I don't know, but I think it is. Do you think the new ETF HYLD and HDIV and HDIF? I do like both Hamilton and Horizon. Those are two companies I really do like, and I like their ETFs. I think their distribution is high, but now they are doing covered calls on them so they can make money even when their price is going down. So as long as that is working out for them, there's no reason it can't be sustainable. But anytime you have dividends with a 10% yield or above, you still want to pay attention. It just makes sense because, if they get somebody in there mismanaging them, there could be some issues. But right now, I've got no alarm bells on any of the Hamilton or even that Horizon one as well. CP and CNR are at high prices. Yeah, absolutely. Now, CP, they're now the only railroad in North America that goes from Canada all the way to Mexico. So that's a share that I think, like, I've bought into them, and I'm planning to sit on some CP shares for the reason that I think in the future you're going to see them really, really grow. CNR is still my big railroad. Like, I have 3 railroads. I've got CNR, I got CP, and I have Union Pacific down in the US. So those are the 3 railroads that I'm really, really bullish on, and I'll probably hold them till I die type thing. Let's see, 97 a month. All right, let's see. Cars aren't insured anymore. It's the driver that's insured now. Okay, that would be kind of cool. I mean, CNR is a tough entry point. A split would be mint. Yeah, absolutely. For the railroads, I meant for the valuation. Yes. Oh, let me pull this up here. Okay, so you're thinking the valuation itself is a little bit on the high side. It's one of these things that when you actually look at what CN or what a lot of the railroads do, how essential they are for one, the supply chain, for most other industries, especially things like, take, for example, your natural resources. I think a lot of that valuation comes in from what they can do. It's one of these things that I think I need to do like an entire video just on railroads itself. And that's actually a really good idea, because then I can break that down there for you, Jeremy, because I think that would be really kind of cool. Does CN or CP become more valuable in a recession? Well, it's not that they become more valuable. It's because they are recession proof. It's because they still have a function. They're still going to get paid. They still have to move stuff. That tends to prevent them from dropping as much as what you would see. Like, I know in some of the worst days of this bear market, I would go to my portfolio and everything would be in the red except for CN. And they would be sitting there nice and green in my portfolio. And it's one of those things. Now, Crypto Larvae thinks that CP will blow CN out of the water in the next year. I wouldn't quite go that far. They will start to make some positive strides. Like, I think CP will grow faster than CN as they reach their legs. I don't know if they'll pass CN. It's kind of one of this. It's almost like that Ethereum Bitcoin argument. Ethereum's going to pass Bitcoin. Maybe CP will down the road, but right now, based on the fundamentals, they've still got a long ways to go. CP will probably have a moat Canada, Mexico, US. Yeah, that's the big thing about CP. That entire North American corridor. That's the reason that with Kansas City Southern, CP and CN wanted that badly. If CN had gotten Kansas City Southern, you know, I don't want to say it'd be game over for CP, but I can see why the competition boards were basically saying, nope, you can't do it. And Vic is right. CP will have all the debt with the new railroads they want to acquire. Absolutely. There's going to be some growing pains, and that's what happens when, so for example, the amount of money that they have to pay out for Kansas City Southern, that's going to impact them a little bit, but they're going to make that up pretty fast. So think of it this way. When you buy another company, yeah, it can sometimes hurt your bottom line initially because you're pouring out a lot of capital, but you know, it's not that you're pouring out that capital and getting nothing back in return. You're getting a lot of assets back in return. So it does work its way out. It just means that it's that your money is more into your asset and it's not into your capital. And sometimes it can affect liquidity a little bit, but CP will rebound pretty fast. And CP is one of these ones that I'm really going to be interested to see what they do in 2023 when it comes to their share price. And hello, Jill. Jill, of course, everybody is the one who brought us our pumpkin trivia today. Let's go to number 3 because I got 10 of them. I want to try to get all 10 out before the show was done. All right. Apparently, there are 45 different types of pumpkins. They got names like Baby Bear, Spooktacular. I like Spooktacular, Ghost Rider, Tricky Jack, and Sweetie Pie. Okay. Very interesting. We'll do number 4 too, because it's kind of in the same thing. One of those brands as well is called Atlantic Giants, and they are the overall largest species of pumpkin. And here's the thing. These ones here can grow 50 pounds a day. So 50 pounds a day, that's huge. And wow, that's kind of cool. All right, we'll get back to the pumpkin in a bit. CNR needs to build a major rail line across the pond. Well, I don't think you could build a railroad well, if you're thinking of them just setting up and building one over in Europe, sure, they could do that. But, you know, it would really, see, now you've got me thinking, what would it take to actually build like maybe an underwater railroad connection between Europe and, I think it's just unfeasible. It's way too long, but that's kind of cool. But that's where that's where with supply chains, you just ship things over, move it onto boats and all of that. But still, it kind of would be funky to do that. Somebody shouldn't whisper this to Elon Musk because he's the type that probably would do it. All right. And Vic says, Bill Ackman was a real agitator on the CP board and pushed them to the benefit of investors. Lots of stress in Calgary head office. Yeah. And I don't know a lot about that, about the Bill Ackman part, but I can understand why there would be stress under those situations. All right. And Jill says hi to the Danters. And Jeremy, little eccentric question. Have you ever read The Intelligent Investor or Security Analyst written by Benjamin Graham and David Dood? I have not read Security Analysis, but I'll put that on my list of books that I want to read. So An Intelligent Investor, that one I have perused, definitely a good book. So yes, and pretty much when you look below and you look at the books in my Amazon section, those are pretty much books that I've read. Anytime I read something, I try to throw it in there because I don't want to put a book in there that I've, have no clue if it's any good or anything. So, definitely if you want to see what I've read lately, I'll throw that in there. All right. Jeremy, sum it up in one sentence. Buy great business and don't overpay. Newer versions have Jason Zweig commentary, but older versions are purer. And Jeremy's completely agreeing. We need to buy financially strong businesses sold at reasonable prices. Yeah, absolutely. And Jill's bringing in CP price of earnings ratio is typically over 20.30. It's a little high, but it's not really for other railroads. Also keep in mind too, When you're expanding rapidly and kind of like buying southern Kansas, that does cause a little bit of an inflation in that PE ratio sometimes. So, sometimes a high PE ratio in a company that's doing a lot of expansion is absolutely normal. It's the prices that are subject of much debate held Monday to Friday on the stock markets. And hello, Tim. It is good to see you. CNR is currently at 22. Typically, you want ones that are below 30. Let's see. I think that Vic means expand purchases overseas. Probably does. Probably does. I just was mental image went in my head of an actual railroad track going across the ocean, and I kind of found that kind of cool in a way. But the logistics, I don't think you could pull that off. Hello, crew from Tim. And wasn't the run up from March 2020 to mid 21 a blast? Now most of us are sitting on losses. Well, unrealized losses, Vic, unrealized. And here's the thing with these prices today, once we do recover, once the bear market is done and we start moving into a more bullish territory, we're going to see some of these prices start climbing up. And the things that you're buying at really super cheap prices today, like, for example, when we were talking with them bank stocks, you're going to be very happy with what they look like in the future. Now, if you're a true investor, it probably doesn't even matter because you're probably not going to sell them even when they go back into higher territory. But it's still sometimes nice to see. And psychologically, it's really good to start seeing things green and seeing your numbers coming back up. So have some patience, my friend. Have some patience. All right. Security analysis is a cure for insomnia. That's kind of cool. And a boring company could build a tunnel from NA to Europe. There we go. Vic, Gail, it was maybe the case before interest rate hikes. Now I would try to have stocks with lower PEs. Yeah, I mean, lower PEs are not bad for sure. What's your opinion on this point? The impact of interest rates on acceptable valuation. That's a good question. Holy banana bread. You like wrote down a whole bunch of really good questions and said, I'm going to bring them in today. So, I think one of the situations with interest rates going up, it is going to impact everything to a certain extent. When it comes to valuation, yeah, companies are going to be impacted because they're going to all of a sudden, especially companies with high debt, because servicing that debt's going to start eating up a lot more of their earnings. And that is going to impact their valuation when all of a sudden they don't have the same cash flow. And it's funny, I keep looking over that way because I'm used to the camera being there, but now it's here. So it's like, So if I'm looking off to the side, it's because I'm just naturally, I think I've run, 49 live streams or 50 live streams with the camera over there. So anyway, I do think, yeah, definitely the impact in the interest with companies with big, large debt. And there are some companies, like, for example, I think it was it Shopify? I'd have to actually look at the data. I think Shopify had a good amount of debt. And that's going to certainly impact them because when those interest rates go high, servicing the debt ends up costing you a lot more. It is going to impact your valuations. And it'll be very interesting to see how these valuations start developing as we move even beyond 2022, as we start moving into the first couple of quarters of 2023. Because I imagine by about mid-2023, we should hopefully they'll have gotten that interest rate that inflation rate under control, because it is adding up pretty darn fast, some of these interest rates. Okay. And let's see, Tim, we were out to dinner with friends last night. She is all over Visa as stock. Yeah, well, companies like Visa are making more money with these interest rates because, like I said before, when we go up 50 basis points, it's not like Visa is going to just move up their rates 0.5%. They're going to take a little bit more. So It's just kind of the way that those guys work. All right, let's get to another pumpkin fact. So apparently, pumpkins are a great source of beta carotene, which is why they're orange, kind of like a carrot. And this here will become vitamin A after you eat it, and vitamin A is an essential vitamin for good eye health. Now, here's the thing, just going to put this out there. Vitamin A doesn't mean that you can see better. It's just, it is just good eye health in general. So eating carrots doesn't give you like supervision or anything like that. It just means that you're going to be healthy. And let's see, what do we got here? Plaisir, vous parlez français. Oh, we're starting to get French now. Visa was at 175 last week and now 204. Je parle un peu. See, this could be fun. If I start reading French conversation in here, I am going to butcher it really badly. And for those of you who do speak French, it might actually be funny to see how badly I butcher some French. And again, no cash to buy. Oh dear, that's never good. All right, let's talk about. Give me 1 second here. Okay. Oh yeah, we were talking a little bit earlier about some of the tech that reports in the U.S. So Microsoft was also down 7.72% after their earnings report because they have a very poor growth forecast. They're kind of relying on their cloud computing system, and that's kind of interesting. But Apple is the different one. Apple is weird. So Apple actually, they've lost a lot of money because their iPhone sales were very weak. But their Mac sales were actually higher than expected. So, and ironically, I bought a Mac. So, this, I guess it wouldn't have been the last quarter, though. It would probably fall into the following quarter. But so Apple actually had a little bit of a pump in their price, which is kind of interesting. Now, Air Canada. Now, Air Canada actually came in a little bit hot this week with their earnings report. So one thing, and this is kind of stupid, but they had 2.1 billion more than what they had in 2021. Now they were flying empty planes in 2021 for the most part, so that doesn't really surprise me. It was like a very low bar for them to beat. But they have actually shown a little bit of promise in their last quarter. And if you were watching their stock on Friday, they had a really good pump thanks to that earnings report. So pushed them above 20 again. Now, I think later in the day, they fell back down into the high 19s. But, we're at that point. I'm not looking at the financials from last quarter. I still think they've got a long way to go before they're going to be into a real rebound. So I certainly am not at that point right now of saying, hey, it's time to buy Air Canada again, because I'm not there yet. I would like to actually take a deeper dive into this quarter. More importantly, I'd like to see quarter one of next year. I think that will be far enough away that I can see the trend by comparing these two quarters and see how they're growing and see if, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're going to recover. I thought it was going to be 3 years before they became profitable again. So we'll have to really see how that's going to work out. I would love to be wrong about Air Canada, to be honest. So that is kind of a good thing. All right, let's see. And we were already there. And our sapper's in the house. Hello, our sapper. Hello, our sapper. See, there we go. I've already lost my ability to talk. That's fine. Here's something really interesting. As you guys know, I'm bullish on oil. So ExxonMobil, they had their earnings report come out, and holy banana bread. So their net profit was $19.7 billion. That's net profit. Wow. And here's the funny thing. It was their strongest quarter in their entire history. And they've been around for 152 years. So when people are saying oil is slumping, well, tell that to ExxonMobil. And I think they might be like, they might call you out on that one. So that's kind of an interesting thing here. A little bit on household wealth. So in Q2 of this year, household wealth actually decreased by $900 billion. So that's kind of a little idea to sort of see where things are happening right now. Let me see here. Your suggestion on stocks to buy now. Well, we're heading into a recession. So I'm always going to say right now, my suggestion is always going to be, first of all, you want to do your due diligence. I won't tell you exactly what stocks, but blue chip stocks are safe bets going into a recession, especially if you can get blue chip stocks with some dividends. I'm also pretty strong on that oil sector for a while. And I'll answer a second question too. Hockey Nut said, is there a good oil ETF? XEG is my favorite oil ETF. So do some due diligence on it, but it's been, it has had a good return over the last couple of years. So it's a very solid one. All right. And now, Sociable has said, if someone is looking to buy their first house in the next 2 years, what would you recommend? Keeping in high savings account like Scotia, giving 2.35%, or in market growth dividend stock? Here's the thing. If you have the cash and you're looking to purchase your first home, all right, so you got a lot of different options. One option is there is that new TFSA that's coming out in, I believe it's supposed to start in January. And that's a TFSA for first home buyers. So you might be able to put some money in there and do some investing with that and get it all tax-free. Now, when you're looking at a high savings account like Scotia giving 2.35%, the only problem is I look into that 2.35%. It may not be. It sounds to me like that's probably an introductory rate. I know you can also get like 4% on some places for introductory rates. But you want to be careful because I think after a certain amount of time, that might drop down to 1.5. But double check. I hope I'm wrong on that one. Here's the thing. If you've got so much money and we don't know how long this bear market is going to go. So if you are looking to try to invest with it, you want to be really careful. Like you really, really want to do your due diligence because you don't want to be putting it into something that you're going to be losing capital on. Now, here's another option too. Let me put this on the table. As these interest rates are going up, bonds are going up. So you might want to look at some bonds because you might be able to get like a 1-year bond that you might be able to get like 4 or 5%, something crazy like that on, maybe a 1 or a 2-year bond if you know roughly how long. It locks your money in, but you can't lose anything. And you can get a half decent interest rates as the interest rates keep hiking up, the bonds are going to start going up. So look at the bonds. That is another option as well that I would just put on the table. Let's see. Fenny Horizons also has a great oil ETF. There we go. iShares, that is the XEG one. I believe it is iShares. Sahil, don't do it. Put in high interest savings or GIC. Exactly. So GIC, that is your bond. So guaranteed income certificate near 5%. That's what, and Vic, you're right on that. I would be looking at that. Whoops. So EQ Bank is 4.7. Can it get to 5? I think it can. So that's one of these things too. While they're still pumping these bonds up, even waiting a month or two, you might be able to get a higher interest rate. And that would give you, of course, more in the long term by just waiting a couple of months before you began. Usually the first 3 months. Yeah, a lot of these introductory rates. So 5-year GIC at 5%. Yeah, absolutely. Yes, it will. I don't know how much yet. Probably last year, I think it was 6,000. So I'm going to guess it's probably going to be 6,000 this year. I don't think the government's going to ump that too much. I think they want to keep it as low as they can. So that would be my best bet guess right now. Can't you put a GIC in your TFSA if you have room? Of course. Well, the GIC is a separate entity altogether. There's no need to put it into a TFSA if you don't want to. And some banks, I think, will allow you to do some really interesting things. So you can't do it, for example, on Wealthsimple, but you might be able to do it with another bank. Let's see. I use EQ Bank and Achieva and Tangerine. Yeah, EQ Bank. I use EQ. I like them. And all are okay. I'm actually looking to do a video on the different banks. So, okay. And Jeremy said something about hearing some bad reviews on Google for EQ Bank. So, yeah, I'd love to hear what those reviews were. I think the biggest issue I have with EQ Bank is that you don't have any kind of a card with them. So it makes it a little bit more difficult because you kind of have to use something in conjunction with EQ Bank, some kind of a card that you can use to be able to, do a lot of the functions. Other than that, so yeah, EQ Bank, you do need something else because they don't have any kind of a card. So let's see here, 6,600. I don't know what that is in reference to. Don't overlook online credit unions. Some restrict to province of residence. No tact, correct. Been with EQ since they went live years ago, so current frustrations are actually an improvement. Yeah, EQ has been improving. And I've actually gone and I've emailed them a few times and said, come on, guys, get a card. Because that was my biggest issue with them is that card. And they're exactly what the friggin' Oracle say, EQ matched with ShakePay. You can use the ShakePay card, or you could do Wealthsimple that way too. So there's a few different options to get around it. All right, pumpkin time, folks. All right, so we are on, we only got a few of them left. So there's 6. So this one I knew about, and I thought this was interesting. So pumpkins, the first jack-o'-lanterns weren't even pumpkins. They were actually made from turnips. And then this was an Irish thing because the Irish really loved their jack-o'-lanterns. And when the Irish all immigrated to North America, this thing called the potato famine, they discovered pumpkins were a lot more prevalent. And they were like, okay, let's use pumpkins instead. So pumpkins were the second choice. Turnips were the first, which is kind of interesting. And I hate turnips, but I think a turnip would be very easy to carve. A little probably easier than a pumpkin. And we'll drop one more here. So pumpkins, they originated in Central America. So apparently now the state of Illinois uses the most land to grow pumpkins, 12,000 acres of pumpkins each year. Holy banana bread, that's a lot of pumpkins. Apparently, Morton, Illinois is considered the pumpkin capital of the world. And it's also the home to Libby's, and they produce 85% of the world's canned pumpkins. Libby's also produces beans, too. I remember that. EQ also limits funds at 200,000. So if you are a nickel dime crew, no problem. Oh, see, I did not know that. 200,000. Oh, that might be a deal breaker, Vic. That might be a deal breaker. I don't know about that one. But I think part of it too is they may not be able to insure as much beyond that. And let's see here. Oh, somebody brand new. Ian Mac Photography, longtime watcher, first time commenter. How about a SoFi for a video? SoFi, that would be interesting. Yeah, and I know that Ian's been on the channel before. I think I've seen him in my subs once, and I went over to his channel because, hello, I love photography and I am a Mac person. So that falls right into my wheelhouse. So, if any of you guys are into Mac photography, check out Ian's channel. He's got some pretty good videos over there. So just putting that out there for you. All right. With that, let's do another one. Let's get another one of these. All right. This one's going to be we'll participate a little bit. How many pounds do you guys think of pumpkins are grown every year in the U.S.? We're just going to look at the U.S. and I'll give you a hint. The number is in billions. It's I don't want somebody saying 5 pounds. So we'll see if somebody can get it. We'll come back to that once somebody guesses. I'll tell you high or low once you guys throw some numbers into the chat. So how many billion pounds of pumpkins are grown every year in the U.S.? And I'll give you one even hint just to make you show it's less than 25. Ian, there is a Canadian YouTuber almost exclusively devoted to SoFi, Tanner of Future Invest or something like that. Ooh, that's interesting. There we go. So anyway, anybody, come on, guys. You guys are really good at guessing at stuff, unless you don't like guessing about pumpkins. While you guys are doing that, I'm going to jump to, we got 2 last pumpkin facts. We'll just get them out of the way. So a grower in Italy right now holds the world record for the heaviest pumpkin. And he has grown a 2,702 pound pumpkin back in 2021, which is the Guinness World Records. Let's see, Candace, what are you? High roller to have assets like that above 200K? I try, I don't have anywhere near 200K in EQ Bank. I can guarantee you that. 20 billion, no, lower. It's lower than 20 billion, folks. 20 billion is pretty high, so go way lower than 20 billion. Oh, and the last thing here is I love pumpkin pie. So the largest pumpkin pie ever made came from the New Brenham Pumpkin Fest in Ohio. So if Phil is still in here, he might know of this Pumpkin Fest because Phil's from Ohio. This Guinness World Record holding pie had a diameter of 20 feet. Holy banana bread, that's big. And weighed 3,699 pounds. Its crust was made from 440 sheets of dough. Wow. Lower than 14 billion, Bonnie. And lower, of course, than 17 billion, Vic. Sorry. I had missed that a couple have gotten in there. Had a boatload of Dogecoin. Oh, I feel for you. Yeah. Lower than 12 billion, Tim. Lower than 12 billion. Guys, let's start coming way down. I said it was over 1 billion. It's not over 1 billion by a lot. So we'll just see if you guys can get that. All right. I think I got a couple of, I got some spooky stats I wanted to share with you. I saw this over on The Peak. It's one of them newsletters that comes out. Lower than 7.5. Lower than 7.5. So in 2022, the projected spending on Halloween is $10.6 billion. I'm not going to limit it to one. Lower than 1.75. But Tim, you are getting really, really close. Really close, Tim. Type fast and you might get it. $1. No, higher than $1. Oh, is that how much you're going to spend on Halloween this year? $1? I don't know how much I've spent on Halloween. Because we bought a pumpkin. Higher than 1.25, Bonnie. Holy banana bread. If you were to average yours and Tim's guess, you would probably hit it. So whichever one of you types in that average of those two guesses will get it. Apparently Vic has limited his guess. And Tim, the other Tim Carroll is the winner. 1.5. Holy banana bread. That's hilarious. Bonnie, 1.6. Seriously. Holy cow. That was actually kind of fun. I think it's hilarious that the other Tim won. He wasn't even playing. And at the last bit, he was just like, I can do math. I'm in there. Bang. Victory. Wins. So yeah, $10.6 billion is the projected Halloween spending in 2022. And here's the interesting thing. Do you guys know what the average price of a pumpkin is? So the average retail price of a pumpkin this year, it was up 13%. So inflation definitely hit it. But $5.82 is the average price of a pumpkin. All right. I had a pumpkin. Like I said, I like to I like carving the pumpkin every year. So I do that. Now, the annual revenue from ticket sales for haunted attractions is expected to be 300, if not a bit more, $1 million. So that's kind of interesting. And here's the last one. So 86% of parents have admitted to stealing candy from their kids. Holy banana. Are any of you guys parents? Have you stolen candy from your kids? Let's hear it. Let's fess up. It's time to let the truth out. I don't have any kids yet, but I probably would do it. I will admit. Vic says full-size bars, 18 for $11.49 at Costco. That actually sounds like a really good price, Vic. Are you giving full-size bars out? Because the kids will, they will love you. They will all be at your house. Bonnie's done it. Bonnie has stolen from her kids. There we go, Bonnie. Yeah, everybody does it. And I don't think any of you who are parents can be basically saying, no, never done it. I've never done it. I mean, my mom used to do it. Like, she would be like, it's time. I have to inspect all the candies to make sure there's no razor blades or poison. And there'd always be a pile of really good candy, like usually chocolate bars. And she'd be like, those are the ones that are suspect. And it's like, yeah, right. And then I'd catch her later eating them. So, I don't steal their candy. I just tax them. Okay. And Jill says some parents will take it and redistribute it back over a period of time. They do that. They do that mostly out of health reasons so that children don't have a huge rush of sugar. Well, maybe. My mom did it because she ate them. I end up with what they do not eat. Woohoo! You're welcome, Tim. You had a good guess. You got in there. So that was kind of interesting. So I got one last story that we didn't get to today. This one, I thought with Halloween and things all spooky, we'll go to the unidentified aerial phenomenon for the last story. So NASA has just named their 16-person team to start investigating UAPs, as the government had asked them. They said, hey, NASA, you guys are better at this than us. Why don't you go look at all of these UAP things and figure out what the banana bread they are? So NASA is now going to be doing that, and we'll have to see what kind of a results NASA gets, because they do understand the motion of ships and things like that a lot better, and they understand physics a lot better, I think, than most military generals. And probably more than pilots, just because of the fact that they do what they do. Let's see. I don't plan on lying about it. I just don't want them eating 10,000 calories worth of chocolate in one night. That would be, yeah, I can understand that. That would be a lot of chocolate to eat in one night. So, but yeah. So once again, tomorrow is the big night. So that was all about the UAPs. I mean, heck, if you guys want to talk about UAPs another time, we'll certainly do that. I'd be curious to know if any of you have seen a UAP. I have. I've seen one that's, that I know of. And I'll tell a story because, it's kind of Halloween-y. So I was a kid living in Nova Scotia. And I know one night I was out looking at the sky on my bike, and I saw this thing. It looked like a comet in the sky. It was like a light, and it had light coming off of it, almost like in the shape of a comet. And so I ran in the house and I pointed it out to my mom, and I think my dad was there too. And they were looking at it like, oh yeah, whatever. Nobody seemed to care. And I was like, okay, well, I went out and got on my bike and I started following it. So driving through some of the subdivisions to get as far as I could go. And then here's the interesting thing though. It wasn't just like white. Every so often it would change color. So sometimes it would be green, sometimes it would be red or pink or some other color. And I finally got to as far as I could go because the harbor was in the way, and it stopped. So it stopped moving because it had been slowly moving across the sky. And then all the stuff disappeared, and it was a metallic saucer-like thing. And I was just staring at this thing, and I had one of my friends was with me, and we were both looking at it. And then it was like little landing things came out, and it just sunk down below the horizon. At that point, we lost it. So pretty much it was over roughly where, there's a lot of bases along the coast down there. And I think it was roughly where they had like sheer water. So that's my best guess. My best guess is that it was probably some kind of advanced military thing, and that's why it landed there. Now, what's really interesting is the next morning, the news, the guy started off talking about UFOs. He was like, my wife cooked me a UFO this morning, an unidentified fried object, and then went on and on because the amount of reports that came in about this UFO, back then we called them UFOs, it was just crazy because everybody had seen it, and there were stories galore flying all over the place because everybody had seen something. So I personally, because of where it looked like it was starting to land, I think it was just some kind of a military test vehicle of some sort. So that anyway is that's my UAP story. Not that exciting, but at least I can say I've seen one. So all right. Now, Tim is saying happy Halloween, everybody. I do hope everybody has a really happy Halloween. So we're in the dying minutes, guys. So if you have any dying questions, throw them in quickly before I'm gone. You see, and Vic says, Buddy's sure that his mother-in-law is from another planet. Maybe. Why is banana bread called a bread, not a cake? Well, I think it's the consistency, to be honest. It's a little bit more solid. It's a little bit more firm than what a cake. A cake is a lot moister than what a banana bread would be. You can also spread stuff on a banana bread. Try spreading something on a cake other than icing, but if you were to cut a cake, it would kind of get all gunky. Now you're asking, I will say right now, Hockey Nut, you're asking the absolute wrong person. You should be asking Jill this. She knows everything. Oh, she's yelling in the background about quick bread. So I just, there we go. It's because it's a quick bread. There we go. Thank you. Somebody came up with the answer. Holy banana bread. Oh, I say that way too much. All right. Anyway, it has been another fantastic stream. We've got to talk about pumpkins. We got to talk about a lot of different stuff, and it was really awesome that we had Jeremy in here, and he had all the hard questions. Just let you guys know, tomorrow we're doing another dividend list video, but this time we're looking at 7 extremely high dividend stocks that are American. So we're looking at American stocks tomorrow. So Phil will like that if he's still here. I don't know if he is or not. I just know I saw him earlier. And then we were talking about that oil ETF. Thursday, I'm going to be dropping a deep dive on XEG. So we're going to talk about that in Thursday's video. So if you want to look at that to get more information on XEG, definitely tune in for that. We'll be back here next week, of course, again with this. And we should have a video this Saturday as well. So, hey, like I said, it was great to be here. Make sure you have a good Halloween. I'm going to be handing out candies and watching all the kids' costumes. So I think it'll be a really good night. So anyway, everybody, have a fantastic night. We'll talk to you later, and happy Halloween. Bye, everybody.